All right, everyone, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining today's webinar. And today we're going to be primarily talking about using the QB Sync widget within an admin online store. And today is April 10th. A bit of housekeeping before we get started. Today's webinar is going to last for about an hour. Everyone who is attending, you guys are muted. And if you have any questions, you can submit those questions via the GoToMeeting screen you'll see in your GoToMeeting dashboard. If you expand the orange arrow, you'll see your dashboard, and you'll see a questions area. You can put all your questions in there. I will be taking questions during the presentation, and also I will have a question and answer forum where I'll take generalized questions that you guys have. So today's presenter today is myself, Allegra Mitchell, and I am the Customer Success Manager here at Widget. And before we get started with the overall presentation, I do like to talk about our company because I am talking about our products as well. So I would just like to say, if this is your first webinar, welcome. If you've attended a webinar in the past for any of our products, welcome back. So a little bit about our company. Widget, we are headquartered here in sunny San Francisco, and we have our development and our support center in Indore, India. Our products serve thousands of small to medium-sized business customers worldwide, and we have been certified with Intuit since 2007. We're also partnered with top e-commerce platforms. Today I'll be focusing primarily on Magento, which is one of the top e-commerce platforms, as well as Zencart. We are also partnered with shipping providers and hosted QuickBooks providers. Now the shipping and the hosted, that's geared more toward our ECC desktop product. And also we have hundreds of web designers, developers, QuickBooks Pro advisors that are all promoting our products. And our products are ECC Desktop, ECC Cloud, and ShipLark. Today's webinar will primarily focus on ECC Cloud. So, our agenda. What is the QB Sync widget and what does it do? How is the QB Sync widget enabled? What is the preparation in ECC Cloud? What does it work for? It works for Magento and Zencart only at this time. What does it do? Post orders to QuickBooks. And I'll also talk about some best practices. And then after that, we'll have a question and answer forum where I'll take your questions. I'll show you what your resources are and talk to you about the other webinars that are happening this month. So, the QB Sync widget, what does it do? Who is it for? The QB Sync widget is a tool that is installed in the back end of an online shopping cart, in the back end of Magento or Zencart. It uses the power of ECC Cloud and its connection to the online store and to QuickBooks. So I do want to kind of illuminate this image I have on the left to kind of show you the relationship of the QB Sync widget to ECC Cloud and to QuickBooks. So, you know, it kind of sits. It actually, because I said it harnesses the power of ECC Cloud, it's really about interacting not with ECC Cloud, but in the back end of your shopping cart to post orders to QuickBooks. And so this is a really good way to, you know, kind of take the reliance out of ECC Cloud or the access that's needed to get into ECC Cloud and post orders to QuickBooks within your online shopping cart. So, you know, since your shopping cart is accessible anywhere, this QB Sync widget is accessible anywhere. And you can, again, post orders to QuickBooks as sales receipts or invoices. And I'll also kind of talk about what the QB Sync does to the admin areas of Magento and Zencart, because it's really very special. Not only does it enable the functionality, but it adds tools to utilize that functionality. Since I mentioned that the QB Sync widget is utilized by ECC Cloud, if you have an ECC Cloud, if you're already using ECC Cloud, which is great, I see a lot of registrants here, a lot of paid users, which is awesome. Even if you're on the trial, you can utilize this too. So that's why I kind of started this slide with about preparing for the QB Sync widget, because there's a little bit of preparation that has to happen. Of course, you should have already connected, or you should plan connecting ECC Cloud to your Magento store, or if you have a ZenCart store, or both. Depends if you have either shopping cart. So you should handle that within ECC Cloud. And then you should also set up how orders should post into QuickBooks in the QB Sync settings areas within ECC Cloud. If you're unsure where that area is, it is on the dashboard, and kind of if you need to know kind of how to add the store, the webinar last week was about getting started, where I show how to add a store. So if you need a little bit of that background, you have that accessible to you. So that's really it for the preparation. After you're done connecting your online shopping cart to cloud, connecting cloud to QuickBooks, QuickBooks Online, and then setting up how you want to post orders to QuickBooks, now we can talk about enabling the widget. Since you've already, so I'm really going to talk in terms of, if you've already enabled, or if you've already connected ECC Cloud to your Magento store, because I see that there's a lot of folks that are using Magento that registered, and since you guys are paid users, I do want to assume that you've already added the Magento store, or already connected Magento to ECC Cloud. So if you've done that, you will probably have seen, or may not have noticed, that there's an area on the dashboard called QB Sync Widget. We have a little flag that says new, because it is a really relatively new feature. And what you're looking at is just exactly what this QB Sync widget looks like within the dashboard of either the Magento integration with cloud or the ZenCart integration with cloud. So really the first step is getting the widget. So by clicking on that button, get the widget, you begin this process of enabling the widget. So step two. Step two kind of splits off into two areas. The first area, I'm going to talk about how you enable it within Magento. The second, step two, I'm going to talk about how you enable it within ZenCart. So let's talk about Magento. So after you've clicked on Learn How or Get the Widget, there's definitely some things that you're going to have to do. So if you've already connected ECC Cloud to your Magento store, and you've installed the Widgility store module using FTP, this QB Sync widget, because it is such a wonderful value add to the actual admin area, you will need to reinstall the module as an extension in the way that I'm going to demonstrate. And that is because not only do we enable the QB Sync, but we're adding information and tools to the database of the admin area in both of these stores. Okay? So for Magento, since you're going to have to reinstall the module, we make it very easy for you to do this. So the first step is to download the new version of the store module and install that in the backend of your Magento Connect Manager. So when you click on Enable the Widget or Learn More, you will see this first step and this link here that holds the Widgility store module within a format that is accessible, that is easy for you to install as an extension in the Magento Connect area. So you'll click on that link, download that, save that to your desktop or someplace that's easily accessible, because you will need to retrieve it. So if it's the downloads folder, if it's the desktop, put it where you can find it. The second step within the step two is logging into your Magento admin area, going to your systems area, hovering over the Magento Connect, and accessing your Magento Connect Manager, just like this image shows. And then after that, you can install this. You could browse the location where within the Magento Connect Manager, there's an area to upload an extension. You would just browse your system, so you'd retrieve it from either your desktop or your downloads, wherever you put it when you downloaded it, and just upload it. And that's really it, because installing extensions in Magento is super easy. So after you've done that, you can switch back over into ECC Cloud and just hit Enable the Widget. and you're done. Super simple, super easy. Now for ZenCart, it's the same process, however, it's a little different. The QB Sync widget is not an extension. The store module that you already have for ZenCart, ECC Cloud is able to enhance that and make that modification to the widget within Cloud. So you don't have to uninstall or reinstall the widget for ZenCart. So to enable it, all you do is upgrade. That upgrade happens automatically within ECC Cloud. After you're done, in both cases, when you upgrade that and after you've done this process, you'll receive a confirmation saying, great, it's all installed, it's ready to be used. So just want to let you know, if you need a review on this process or kind of want to see this in depth, we've got videos for this whole thing, and we've got help documents for the whole thing that walks you through. So the purpose of this webinar is to introduce this, this QB Sync widget to you, and then so you can really see that, by using the power of ECC Cloud, I can still be in my admin area in my online store and post orders to QuickBooks, and that is the key. So now that I have enabled the widget, now it's time to show you what it does. I've been saying that this widget enhances your admin store area, and you're probably thinking, well, how is that? What does it look like? What does it add? It definitely adds tools. So I'm actually going to switch into my browser here, and I'm going to switch into my Magento store. I've also got my ZenCart store here. I'm showing you my screen now. Here's my ZenCart admin. Here's my Magento admin. So I want to introduce to you some of the additions that this QB Sync widget has now added to your admin areas. So as you can see, if you're a Magento user, this looks very familiar to you. But so I want to introduce you to the tools that the QB Sync widget has now added to your admin area. So the first thing it has added is this column called the QB Sync status right here. This was not here before. And it has also added this button called QB Sync. This is where the magic of the QB Sync widget happens. And for Magento specifically, if you want to post multiple orders to QuickBooks in this way, we've actually added, you can select the order, as many orders as you want, just like this. And we've actually added the QB Sync as an action, so you can post multiple orders at a time. For ZenCart, when we go into ZenCart, I'll talk about that functionality. And so this widget not only added this button here to the kind of the admin panel area where you're looking at all of your orders, it has also added an area of QB status to the details of the order. So kind of the process, so now let me kind of go into ZenCart for ZenCart users and show you the similar additions there. This is ZenCart. If you've never seen ZenCart before, this is what it looks like. So again, we've got this Post to QuickBooks widget here, you can see for orders that are posted, you see with the sales receipt, so the type of transaction and the transaction number that has been created. So this again has been added to the admin, and this is the enhancement of the module and what ECC Cloud has done when it enhances that module and enables that QB Sync widget within the admin. For ZenCart, I do want to note that you're only able to post orders one at a time, and you don't have that kind of fluidity of selecting multiple orders. That's just the ZenCart admin, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You still have the power to go through each and every single one of them and post them from the admin area, and that's what's key. So, the next question is, well, how do I post to QuickBooks? It's so simple. So since, all you do is access your admin area, just like you would regularly do, and you would do the same for Magento. As soon as, you'd go to your sales for Magento and look at all your orders, and ZenCart, you would go into your customers and look at your orders, same area that I'm here. All you do is hit Post to QuickBooks. That's really it. All you and that's in ZenCart. In Magento, all you do is hit QB Sync. That's really it. And oh, I see I have some questions. Ooh, thank you for these questions. Is there a setting that posts orders in real time? Great question. You post the orders in real time. There is no automation for this process, but as soon as you access your, as soon as you log into your admin area, just go ahead and post. That's as real time as you can get. So, it may take a modification of your process of what you're doing, but this is really about ease of use. This is a really good solution. Let's say, you have a drop shipper, and your drop shipper is accessing your admin area to find out what orders that need to ship. You can just say, hey, when you're done shipping, if everything is fine, go ahead and post that to QuickBooks. You can let your dropshipper kind of feed information into QuickBooks, and you can actually be engaged within QuickBooks Online and look at those orders coming in. And that's really, really important. Thank you for that question, Lori. Another question. If we use UberCart, any functionality with this? ECC and ECC Cloud do integrate with UberCart. That's a great question. But this QB Sync widget, not at this time. Let's see. Another question from Ryan. Do we need to install via Magento Connect, or can we download the zip file and upload it and install it manually? That's a really, really great question, and I will definitely address that right now. So I mentioned that within Magento, in order to enable this widget, you have to install a new version of the WebGility Store module for this enhancement. And this question is really, and Ryan's question is really about how does this install process go. So you will definitely need to install this via Magento Connect. So go into your Magento Connect area, the Magento Connect Manager. Now, the new WebGility Store module for this QB Sync widget, that you can download directly from Cloud within the Cloud interface area. And actually, it's not a zip file anymore. It's actually a TGZ file for Magento, and that is the extension file that Magento requires. So that's why I mentioned at the beginning, if you've already connected ECC Cloud to your Magento store and you've already installed the module using FTP, you'll need to kind of do this process again, but it's considerably easier because you can just download it and install it manually within the Magento Connect Manager. So that's a really great question, Ryan. Thank you for that. Another question. Can I choose what information from my invoice goes to QuickBooks, like sales, discounts, shipping costs? Yes, you can. And that functionality is actually controlled within ECC Cloud. So this is actually a question about what type of preparation is needed. And this is a really great question. Thank you. So I can kind of talk about this in depth in terms of what is that preparation and how information is chosen to put on the invoice. So Kevin's question is, can I choose the information that goes on the invoice? Of course you can. And that is actually set up within ECC Cloud. So remember when I said preparation involves not only connecting to your store within ECC Cloud, but setting up how you want to post orders to QuickBooks. And that is done within the QB Sync settings. So within the QB Sync setting, everything is moving, and what the really cool thing about this QB Sync widget does, it just moves data. It does everything Cloud does in terms of posting to QuickBooks or QB Syncing to QuickBooks within Cloud. It's moving all that information. So when you set up what information you want on the invoice, all of that's moving through exactly the same way it would if you were using ECC Cloud. So here's my invoice. I can select everything I want to have on this invoice in QuickBooks Online. There's no different. It's no different at all. So it's really just QB Sync in the admin is just sending information to QuickBooks Online. And that information that you send to QuickBooks Online, you set up initially within Cloud. Now, let's say you're using the QB Sync and you're like, instead of invoices, I want to have sales receipts. Great. Come to Cloud. Go to the QB Sync area, the QB Sync settings, and adjust it. Say you want sales receipts now. That's fine too. You can make those settings within ECC Cloud directly. Thank you, Kevin. Great question. Are there any other questions? You know, I know that there's a lot of Magento users that registered, and a lot of, here's another question. I noticed that in the features that quantity update is not supported. Is that correct? You are very correct. So the purpose of QB Sync widget is just getting information to QuickBooks Online. Now, if you want to handle products and syncing products, you can do all of that within ECC Cloud. So this really is actually, you know, Greg, you make a really good point. So you could say, you could have one person who's logged into the backend of your admin posting orders to QuickBooks Online, and then you can spend the time within ECC Cloud and manage the synchronization of products and handle products that way. And really, you know, the both of you, or within two interfaces, you can really handle, you can have cloud just for handling products and utilize your online store where all of your information is about your orders, your customers, your products are anyway. You can just use that interface and post to QuickBooks Online. You can also be engaged within QuickBooks Online and see the lovely graphs and metrics that are updated dynamically within QuickBooks Online to give you further insight as to how that information and where that information is. So that was a very great question, Greg. Thank you. Do I have any other questions about the widget? You know, it's really super simple. So, you know, please do give me your questions, you know, about how this process works. So the next thing I want to talk about, you know, since I mentioned that, you know, this is really easy to use, I really want to focus on best practices, because the ease of use, since it lends itself so wonderfully to a smooth ease of use, I want to make sure that when you're using this QB Sync widget, you're using it correctly. Okay? So the first practice, you know, the best practices, in my opinion, for using this and doing the documentation and kind of writing this and making the videos from a customer point of view, I really had your sensibilities in mind. So I took that and I applied, like, what would I want to know about using this QB Sync functionality? And one of the most important things that I wanted to know, as, you know, I was, you know, pretending to be a user, one of the things I wanted to know is, well, what if I want to create a product? How do I create products, you know, that are missing in my QuickBooks Online company file? How do I create those? What's the best way so, you know, I can continue with the smoothness, the smooth posting orders to QuickBooks and know that I'm not going to get any errors because I'm missing a product? So I addressed that by saying, during the setup of the QB Sync settings in ECC Cloud, which govern how you post orders to QuickBooks Online, in the product screen of the QB Sync settings, you should definitely use the option for creating missing items. That should be set to just, if ECC Cloud detects a missing item in QuickBooks Online, just create it new. So just so you know that not only transactions are getting created in QuickBooks Online, but also products that aren't in the QuickBooks Online company file. And I do want to mention one thing. I also know that there is a lot of people that registered that are using QuickBooks Desktop. And I do want to talk about that, and I don't want to forget about the users that are using ECC Cloud and QuickBooks Desktop. At this time, the QB Sync function is perfectly viable. And the reason why it's viable is because of Intuit's tool, Intuit Sync Manager. The Intuit Sync Manager kind of works alongside ECC Cloud, because when ECC Cloud post orders to QuickBooks using QB Sync, either in the admin of an online store or within ECC Cloud itself, it sends that information to Intuit's cloud. And then the Intuit Sync Manager grabs that information and puts it into QuickBooks Desktop. So you can use this with QuickBooks Desktop, but I do want to mention that Intuit will be shutting down that main tool. that Intuit Sync Manager tool that grabs information that ECC Cloud sends to the Intuit Cloud so it can put into QuickBooks Desktop. Intuit is shutting that down. So at this time, the QB Sync widget is definitely a viable, a viable tool for you to use to post orders into QuickBooks Desktop. But I think this would be a really good time to think about a transition from QBD into QuickBooks Online. If you know, and I think it's something that you're going. It's going to be good to think about now rather than later. And it's going to be really good to assess kind of the features that are in QuickBooks Online and what you can do and how kind of easier it looks. So you know, it's just really about kind of how you want to move forward, what type of functionality you want to have in the cloud, and how best you want to get that done. So I did want to mention that about ECC, using ECC Cloud, QB Sync widget, and QuickBooks Desktop. And so if I were using QuickBooks Desktop and I was looking at the first best practice, rather than create a new product, I would actually have a standard product within QuickBooks Desktop. So that's just, you know, that's just my, one of my best practice for that. This is another great question. When Intuit will shut down Intuit Sync Manager, will they replace it? No. You know, it is in the best interest. You know, everybody's using SaaS and assessing the wonderful accessibility of SaaS. And QuickBooks Online is coming into the forefront. And you know, that is what Intuit is going to replace it with. QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online is going to be accessible anywhere. If you're using desktop, you know how difficult it is to have multiple users. You know, you have to install this huge software on a computer, and what if you lose your computer or you know, forget it in the hotel and you have to access your company information? QuickBooks Online is accessible anywhere. It's really trying to accommodate QuickBooks and the QuickBooks functionality where people need it. And wherever they need it, QuickBooks Online wants to be right there as well. So this is a slow transition, but I do think that you know, if you're an affiliate or if you have clients that are looking at QuickBooks Online, I do think right now is a good time to think about it. You know, think about transitioning. Think about, you know, how you can transition. And, you know, really look at the features in QuickBooks Online. Look at the metrics and the charts and the reports. They're really, really easy to understand and very accessible. So thank you, George, for that question. Another best practice, I'll move on to the next, to number 2. So the second best practice, if you do encounter a problem within the QB Sync widget in the admin area, it will tell you what that error is. All errors should be resolved in ECC Cloud, because ECC Cloud has an interface for errors. You'll be able to see what it is and see how to fix that error. Once the error has been resolved, or once whatever it is has been fixed that was causing that error, once that's been resolved, just resume with the QuickBooks QB Sync widget within the admin, no problem. So again, ECC Cloud is used to manage products and synchronize products and kind of troubleshoot some errors, get some insight as to what's holding up the QB Sync process within the admin area. The next best practice is something to remember. The QB Sync can only send information from the online store into QuickBooks. It's not a back and forth. It's really a one-way street. It's just sending data one way, and that one way is to, and that destination is to QuickBooks Online. So it's not going to be updating, you know, if a customer changes their name or changes their shipping address, it's not going to be updating that stuff. No, it's just sending information. The next bullet point, the next practice, product price and quantity can only be synchronized within ECC Cloud itself. So as I mentioned before, ECC Cloud can be utilized for that. I have another question. What about QuickBooks Enterprise users with up to 30 users and more than 14,000 items? Is that also migrating to QuickBooks Online? All right, Enterprise. So because Enterprise is a really robust database, for Enterprise, I would wait. Really, to start the transition is for Pro and Premier. Enterprise, I know Enterprise users have multiple users. This particular user has 30 and 14,000 items. That is a large database. I would say give Intuit some time to accommodate that transition, and also approach Intuit about saying you're an Enterprise user. When is the transition going to be right for me? How is the transition best done? And as we move to transition users from QuickBooks Desktop into QuickBooks Online, we can definitely help you out in terms of answering those questions. What are the resources, and especially for QuickBooks Enterprise? But kind of in the short answer, the short answer for Enterprise, I would wait a little bit. I would still look and see what QuickBooks Online has to offer, but I would kind of take it one step at a time. Wait until Intuit is ready. Intuit is definitely ready for Pro and Premier. So I would wait on the Enterprise. Very good question. Thank you, James. So back to my last best practice. And this is something that, as I was making the user documentation, one thing I really wanted to focus on, and I just would like to say this. Once you start posting orders to QuickBooks using the QB Sync widget in the admin area of either Magento or ZenCart, you must always continue to post orders from the admin in that way. And the reason being is that since the QB Sync widget just sends information, it's not updating that activity in ECC Cloud. So and let me actually switch into my online stores and just show you this again. So the QB Sync widget, when it sends the order to QuickBooks Online, it shows the posting status and the transaction that was generated, as well as the transaction number that was generated in in QuickBooks Online. All this lovely information is not in ECC Cloud. It is only contained within the admin. So ECC Cloud and the activity of the QB Sync widget in the admin areas don't share information. Same with ZenCart. Once it's here, it is only reflected here. It is no longer reflected within the ECC Cloud order area. So that's one thing I really wanted to make sure that is known about the best practice. Because if you're using the QB Sync widget in an online store admin and you're posting to QuickBooks, and you're posting and somebody else is posting within ECC Cloud, you're double posting. And you may not know it until you kind of do some analysis within QuickBooks Online and notice that you have some duplicate transactions. So that's a really, really important point to note. I've got another question. Because it only syncs one way, if a customer types in an address differently or changes addresses, does it create a new customer file? No. Really, when ECC is creating customers, and because this QB Sync widget is really engaged within the online store admin, if they've changed any kind of information, any customer information within the online store admin, it's really going to be there. Customer information and addresses, that information is really secondary to the financial or the accounting information of the actual order. So if I were to, kind of change this around, saying, or I'm going to take this question and kind of take it to another level in terms of accounting, what if somebody added an item to an order. How would that work? Now with Magento, which is cool, if a customer does a modification to an order, Magento actually makes a kind of a sub order. So you'll see the order number and it'll say like -1 or -2. It makes an entirely new order. So you could essentially delete that transaction from QuickBooks Online if you've already posted it to QB, and then post the new corrected one that Magento has made. That's something that Magento does. With ZenCart, you may want to cancel out that order or tell the customer just to make an order for that single item. So this is really about how to deal with those type of things. But in terms of customer information, that's really secondary to the transaction information or the transactional information that the QB Sync widget is bringing into QuickBooks Online. So thank you, Laura, for that question. And I just would also like to mention that videos of this entire process for both Magento and ZenCart, from enabling the widget to using the widget, videos are all in the ECC Cloud knowledge base within Help Desk. And so this brings me to my, my next area, which is really talking about, your resources. So one thing that I always like to talk about is our customer success squad for implementation services. If you purchase cloud and you didn't purchase a training package, and you wanted to enable the QB Sync widget and kind of get that started, that's something that you can do. You can easily purchase a training package to kind of show you how to use it. It's such a it's a tool that doesn't take a lot to kind of install and enable. So really, it's really about kind of training you how to use it in best practices. So the Customer Success Squad is more than capable to addressing any questions that you have about enabling, how to use. And if you have any questions or if you purchase implementation services and you'd like to schedule your session, you can always do that. Or if you have any questions, you can email us directly at success@webgility.com. The second resource you have are the educational resources, which is in Help Desk. So, in every webinar, I always talk about Help Desk and how really, really important it is. And it's extremely important because it holds all the product documentation. So I mentioned in the presentation, a lot of this, everything that I've shown here, there's a video for it. There's a step-by-step help guide that shows you. So I want to make sure that you know that that resource is there for you too. This is, and it's super easy to find. I'm just going to pull it up right here. I'm going to kind of transition it here. Here is the Help Desk and here's using the QB Sync widget. As you can see, it's in the Help Desk within the ECC Cloud knowledge base, and it's in an area all by itself called Using the QB Sync widget. There's articles of how to connect the QB Sync widget to Magento, how to use it for Magento, and how to use the QB Sync widget for ZenCart. And within that article for ZenCart, it talks about how to connect. So just want to let you know, this information is here for you, and videos are embedded within each of these articles. So I do encourage you to look at these, and if you have any questions about this particular process, you can always put in a question within the actual article at the bottom. So all of these articles have a communal aspect. As you can see, here's this video here for using the QB Sync widget in the Magento admin. So if you have any questions about this process, you can always scroll down to the bottom of the article and you can submit your questions here or your comments within this article. So I definitely wanted to show you this area because that's a really important resource that's very, very important to our clients, and it should be an area that you should be going to frequently to guide you and show you how to use all the many features that are in all of our products. And we also have the Webgility blog here too. Everybody who works in Webgility has a particular set of knowledge for a certain area having to do with e-commerce, and we like to give that information and pass that on to our users because it's really important to us, and therefore we want to make sure it's really important to you too. So always stay tuned to our Webgility blog. Another resource you may be familiar with is our support team. The number is right there, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you have any questions for support or need to submit a request or support ticket, just email support@Widget. Now, our webinar schedule. So our webinar schedule this month is all ECC Cloud. So last week I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, talked about getting started. That is actually recorded and you can watch it at any time you'd like. That is also within the ECC Cloud knowledge base under product webinars. So that's where all the webinars will live once they're all recorded. This webinar today is the QB Sync widget for Magento and Zencart. The webinar next week is about inventory management within ECC Cloud. And within the first webinar last week, I talked a lot, I had a lot of questions about eBay and Amazon and expenses and fees. And I decided to dedicate an entire webinar to talk about the Amazon and eBay integration with ECC Cloud. I think it's really important, and I think the tools that we have for downloading settlement reports and posting expenses and fees for both Amazon and eBay is absolutely wonderful. I think it is super easy, and when we created this feature, I was like, wow, I am truly impressed by the ease, it's just really easy to approach. It's really easy to set up, and once you set up, you just post it into QuickBooks Online, and you're done, really. And I just really want to share that with you because I was super excited when we created this new way of, kind of handling expenses and fees within ECC Cloud. I'm just super excited about it, and I want you to be excited about it too. So if you're using Amazon or eBay, in conjunction with either Magento or Zencart, I think this would be a really good webinar for you to attend because it's totally going to be awesome and you're going to love how the expenses and fees come in. It's just amazing. And all our webinars, again, are at the same time, same day, Thursdays at 10. And we also have a survey after the webinar. I do encourage you to take the survey. I would love to see your feedback. I know we've got a lot of new faces here, and we also have a lot of people that I've seen before. It's really going to be great. I would love to see your feedback and love to get that feedback. And one of the pieces of the survey is what kind of webinars you want to see next. I want to know what you want. I want to know what you want to see. So I want to give as much information that you need to know. So let me know what I should do next. I'll see what I can do. So now we're kind of at the end of our webinar, and if there are any questions, I would definitely like to take more questions if you have questions. And let's see if I've got any more questions here. Yeah. So if there are no more questions, I do encourage you, if you've got any questions kind of offline or can't think of any question now, you can always contact our sales department. And our sales department can easily address any kind of questions that you have about ECC Cloud, about using the QB Sync widget, and about purchasing any implementation services you may feel that you may need to just get this ball rolling real quick. So here's the sales line. You can always reach out. We have reps standing by waiting to address any questions that you have. So if there are no more questions during this webinar, I would just like to say thank you so much for your attendance. I do appreciate everyone on here, and I do hope to see you in some other webinars that we're going to have this current month. And so I would like to close as I do with all webinars. Have a great day.